Ain't you sick of giving me your money?
Oh, I know he didn't do it, baby.
Whoa, where you going?
No, I'm about to go make these drop offs.
Yo, welcome to the 5th episode of the BLK Currency podcast. I am BLO, marketing professional by day at a biotechnology company and an MC and producer by night.
What's up? This is Opal, Ellyse. By day, I'm director of multicultural business strategy in the financial industry and also a poet and MC.
I didn't know we had to split up our job titles by day and night. I was unprepared for that. But my name is Corey Whitmore. I just be fluctuating, but I'm owner and founder of Media 22, also Radio 22.
Yeah, that's because you don't sleep, bro. You got like slash.
Facts.
But we have a very special episode today. This individual, I'm just going to put it out there right now. He is my financial advisor. He's helping me get right in my life, not just me, my whole family and my generation that comes after me. So much stuff to talk about this young man and leader. He's from the south side of Madison. And I know a lot of people listening, they understand what that's about. His roots run deep. I know his grandfather personally, who was a pastor, Eugene Johnson, and I know his brother. And Corey and Opal, y'all might know him too, Gango, dope MC.
Yep.
And his father is also an entrepreneur as well, over at JP's, Spencer Johnson. Shout out to the whole Johnson family. He's a dedicated family man, 3 beautiful children, currently located in the southwest region of the nation in Florida, but he originated here in Madison, Wisconsin. And I think the biggest thing for me is just so incredible, and I'm gonna ask him about this, tips to success is being the youngest African-American managing director in Northwestern Mutual's 163-year history. That's a long time. That's like right before slavery was still going on. Right? You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of stuff happening, to get to this point. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to my friend, my confidant, and he doesn't know, but one of my mentors as well, Mr. Dominic Johnson.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, Bradley. Absolutely excited to be here. I'm Dominic Johnson, founding partner, of Concierge Wealth Management Practice, specializing in retirement and business planning. And really, I think the reason I'm here today is to be able to give back,
Absolutely. So, like we always say, everybody, you need to grab your notebooks. I'm sure this man is going to be dropping a lot of jewels. We're going to be taking notes, but we're going to keep the conversation going. To see where this goes, because we always invite people on here that have something great and interesting to say. So I kind of want to start out with how does someone even start to get into something that you do, in terms of doing financial planning and everything that you do right now. So what kind of walk us through the path of the journey?
Yeah, that's a good question. And if I learned anything from Bob Wynn, right, he takes it back a little bit. Right. I grew up in Madison. My first job ever was in a tax firm, right? So I was putting together, tax packets. Shout out to Sword CPA and Monona. They gave a young brother, an opportunity when I was real young. And at that time, that's when I really learned my like tax savviness. I went to UW-Madison. I'm a people scholar. So we went to UW-Madison, go Bucky. I started out in accounting, and I realized that, you know, they sent the extroverts one way. So then I ended up in personal finance, and I ended up switching majors. But those things really built the tax planning that we do today. So I studied personal finance, you know, finished school in the December of 2016. And from there, I guess, junior and senior year of college, I was at Morgan Stanley, and, you know, mainly I enjoyed it, but it was mainly stocks and bonds and just wealth management, you know, so I didn't really get my hands dirty in that, just because I didn't know anybody that had $500,000, you know, to be honest. And when I first started and they told me that was the minimum, you know, I knew one person that had money, and that's probably how I got the internship. So, you know, fast forward, it was, you know, I was the only person of color in there. There were a few women who were killing it, you know, from just like a diversity standpoint. But none of them were, you know, minority in a way, like, you know, they weren't black, I guess. I mean, this is the BLK Currency podcast, right? So there was no black people there. So I thought to myself, okay, this can't be happening. I studied personal finance, you know, I guess I have to go to the bank or something like that, you know, and, you know, no offense to the banks, but it was kind of a dead end. So where I ended up, I was interviewing with Northwestern Mutual, and where I was most attracted was that I could work with people who I wanted to. You know, they said, look, we don't care if you work with 500,000 people that have $1, you know, instead of that one person with 500,000. So from a standpoint of representation, I knew that there was something there, because at Northwestern Mutual, there was I was the only minority in the office, you know, and so coming in, you know, I knew it would be an interesting, you know, kind of development, but I guess I started with just my education, you know, so, you know, you get to become a financial advisor, you know, you get investment license, you get insurance license, and you have to be sponsored by a company. Right. A lot of people I called in the beginning, or that I talked to and sat down with, like they had their uncle was their financial advisor or something, right?
Okay. Yeah, little nepotism going on in there. Okay, we understand.
You know, So, you know, for me, it was always about representation and having the ability to be able to connect with someone on a different level. And the way that really progressed so quickly, I think, was just through education, you know, just educating myself. The people that I'm working with, even when I first started, they were much older than me, you know, and so, you know, that's how I think that's really how I progressed so fast. But from, you know, Morgan Stanley to Northwestern Mutual, my main goal is just to be that representation that people didn't have. And I feel like that's such a barrier to entry, you know, like if you don't know where I come from, and know what I went through, and I'm not saying that I know, you know, everything that everybody else goes through, but to be able to share, you know, some commonalities, and to be able to share that, you know, and they could be mad at me, but, you know, like we went bankrupt growing up, you know, and that was like, that was, as a young kid, and you're not, you know, just not really understanding, you know, I was like 7th or 8th grade, just not really knowing where the next home was going to be, or knowing, you know, what that meant for my parents. And, you know, you look back, and it really wasn't it was in 08, you know, so a lot of people had these like financial situations at that time. And I know you all had a lender on here, but it's like, you could just get a loan from anybody, right? Like you give a loan to anybody, get a loan. And I think, at the end of the day, if there was a financial advisor there for my family, we wouldn't have probably went through the situation that we did back in the day.
You answered my question. That was going to be my next question. Like that must have been a catalyst for you to go into what you went into. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. From there, you know, my mom worked. She always worked hard, right? Special ed assistant, amazing, strong woman. My dad, entrepreneur. You know, he does this thing, and I think he you know, I got my work ethic from him, and so it's like, how could y'all, you know, how could you be missed, right? But there wasn't, you know, just like I tell the new advisors that come in, like there wasn't a me, you know, there wasn't a you, there wasn't a Black Currency podcast, right? So,
and to add to that, Dom, I think that really relates to a lot of people. I mean, my parents, I grew up middle class, but they didn't have that. They didn't have that person like you in their life to kind of guide them along to what to spend. So, you know, the credit cards, the debt. Next thing you know, you got tons of debt, and they don't really know what's going on because what's the saying? It's not about the money you get; it's about the money you keep. So, figuring out how to put it through those systems, yeah. So, yeah, okay.
We got a lot of one-liners here. There we go. Let's get it rolling. Right. That's awesome.
That's huge, though. Thank you for sharing that piece, just because it reminds me, like, Black folks are disproportionately impacted by bankruptcy too, and that's not something we usually talk about within our culture either. So thank you for bringing that in here.
Right.
Sorry, Mama. No, but you know, they're proud of me today, you know, and they've heard me speak on it before, and it's just like, my grandparents, you know, like Bradley brought up my grandparents, like they like the most successful people I knew at the time when I was even getting into the business, and they may or may not have sat down with somebody ever before, you know, and it was just like, how, you know, you the executive at the state of Wisconsin, and you never, you know, but I think trust is important. Finding a trusted advisor, right? I think that's like the main like punchline here is just like having a trusted advisor is very important, and the way you get introduced to them is important.
Yeah.
Before we transition to something else, and hopefully I'm not stepping over you, Opal. I don't know if you had a question right away, but can you go a little bit into the impact of having a father as an entrepreneur, and then as you spoke about your mother as you know, she was incredibly hardworking as a special ed teacher, like the importance and the impact that had on you? Because I think in many Black families there's a first of something, and sometimes that first of something has lasting effects on the family when you're able to see an example of somebody being an entrepreneur, or somebody's work ethic of how they're, you know, no matter what's going on, they're always there for that 9 to 5. What impact did that have on you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think about, you know, like I talked about the work ethic, you know, seeing my dad wake up at, you know, 5 a.m., come back at, you know, 9 o'clock at night. I think as you build a wealth management practice, just to go back to like what it takes, the hours, you know, the hours are long, the days are long, and the years are short, you know. So seeing my mom, you know, be there for people who needed it, who, you know, who may or may not even understand exactly what she's trying to say, but the way she filled that gap for people, you know, was really important for me growing up. But mainly, you know, I think as far as entrepreneurship, what they say, like 5% of business owners end up making it, you know. So I think as hard as we try to, you know, shoot our shot at entrepreneurship, you know, I think our story is still going, right? We still, you know, the story doesn't end. So tremendous legacy, though. You know, my dad, he stepped up for me as a young person. You know, and me and Bradley talk about this, you know, but ultimately just the person I call my dad is my stepdad, and he was there since I was a baby. You know, and it's funny, people come up to us like, "Oh, you guys look alike," and we laugh. You know,
I do. Until you told me, I was like, "What? That's crazy."
But pops, my pops, he always showed up in like a button up and a suit jacket. You know, so even that, right? Just like thinking about just how far it goes back, and just how he represented himself and how he carried himself. It showed me how to carry myself as an adult and as a young person in an industry where the average person is 65 years old.
Dang, right? That's amazing. So we'll get into like the specific financial questions, but like I feel like your story is so amazing. So I got kind of one more question. You talk about being like the only person of color, you're the youngest, right? So Shonda Rhimes has this thing that she says FOD, right? First, only, different. Do you have any like life philosophy for success or a motto that you tell yourself, or what do you draw on? You shared that kind of example. You've seen some folks in your family, but what do you draw on when you're that only person kind of forging this new path forward?
Yeah, no, so that's fire, right? And that's a little different. So when I think about FOD, the way that I became the youngest manager and director in the firm's history was through reaching while I climb, right? And for me, being young, biracial, Black, it was an aha moment for me when I realized, wow, we don't have an Asian woman, man, advisor. We don't have a Hispanic, we don't have these different subcultures out there, don't have this representation still. And so for me, it was about creating a conducive environment so that other people can eat and can like show other people how to do their thing. Like that was what was really most important. Like that was how my journey started, right? It started from just me understanding that representation wasn't there. And from there, there's opportunity in that. So no matter if business owner, white, Black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, listening to this, if you spend the time, pouring into someone that's different than you, it will pay off, right? Like I think a lot of times we think about just spending the time, but from a business perspective, it makes sense. And that's why I think, I earned the seat at the table for them to listen to me. And that's why we ended up, number one in the country,
I love that.
A lot of people need to replay that part. The investment in diversity. And I'm not talking necessarily dollars, but time and knowledge.
For real.
Yeah.
Drop the mic on that one, bro. But we got like another 40 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't know that FOD. That's dope. I was like, man, that sounds like an album right there.
Right? Yeah, I love Shonda Rhimes. She's a genius.
Yeah, that's hot. That's hot. So I wanted to ask you, Dominic, get into some more like financial planning. And I really didn't know how to phrase it. So in true hip hop nature, I just kind of put it like just in case, shit happens.
Perfect.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's really what we dealing with life. We really know what is, we don't know what's going to happen. And I've been seeing a lot, some of my friends, unfortunately, they've left this earth, and you see a lot of GoFundMes. And it made me think about like, wow, I wish they would have had some plan kind of set in place so that their family could really heal during this time, that person transitioned to the other side, deal with the emotional scarring that they need to deal with instead of having to deal with the financial side as well. So once I know we talked earlier, but I guess I would like to know more about, I know a little bit, but I want you to kind of break it down for most people, like what they should know about in terms of financial planning, like how do they get started? What are the elements involved? Kind of guide people through that process. So if you could break it down, that would be great.
That's perfect. Thank you for teeing that up. So just in case, things happen, a lot of times when I'm goal planning with someone, you know, retirement is sometimes out there, and, you know, investing might be something that's like mystic that they haven't really thought about, but the main thing is that they don't want to be a burden on their family. And I think a aha moment for me was when I realized that life insurance really, that was a progression from burial insurance. And you think about like 1863, right? Like W.E.B. Du Bois, he put out literature in like 1899, like 1900, right? Like pre-stock market.
Right.
And it really just showed that a $50,000 white household had the same health disparities as a $50,000 black household, and how this progressed from, you know, I guess the beginning of the century to 1950, 60. Companies had to start introducing the fact that, you know, black people were just as healthy and that they could get life insurance, right? So burial insurance, for those who never heard of burial insurance, who were privileged enough to not, you know, to be past that, burial insurance was like $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 of life insurance if you passed to pay for a burial. A lot of the a lot of the retirees I work with, they have something out there where it might be like even, you know, $3,000 to $5,000 of life insurance. And this is, you know, just from a historical approach, it's about representation.
Right.
Like, you know, the GoFundMe's, before that, it was nothing, you know? And so, you know, to make sure that things don't hit the fan, I think, you know, where we're going with that is just protecting yourself and your family through life insurance. It's based on your age and your health, right? And I think it's one of those things where it takes a trusted advisor, right? When I think about like, you know, where do we go with this wealth gap, right? The wealth gap, it plays it plays a huge part in financial planning. And 1% of, right, so in Dane County, right, when I first started at Northwestern Mutual, and you know, I think it's like 1 point something now, but the black community in Dane County owned less than 1% of the life insurance out of everything that Northwestern Mutual had in place.
Oh wow,
that's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Right, and I mean, so you know, that's inspiring. But I think, you know, a lot of those things, it's not like it's our fault, you know, like it's tough, right? I think now that we have the education, at some point it will be up to us to, you know, to make it happen. But until, you know, my kids take over my practice, or, you know, one of our children take over, you know, financial practice, like this is the first generation that there's been black financial advisors.
Right.
You know, like the first CFP, certified financial planner, in the black community, it was like 1975. You know, and so
that's crazy, bro.
Right.
I was born in 77. Like,
okay, that's not too long ago.
Right.
You know, damn. So a lot of so that's kind of like just like a history of life insurance, right? So insurance companies had to offer the black community life insurance once we start having, you know, the civil rights, you know, kind of movement and the progress that we saw. And at that point, insurance companies out there say, okay, well, the black community, you know, we don't really know if they are as healthy as everybody else. So advisors, right, life insurance agents, right, you could sell it to them, but we're not going to pay you.
Oh wow,
that's terrible.
So it took people, you know, it took good white people to work with us just on on GP, right? Yeah. Just on principle.
That's crazy.
It's almost like some like insurance redlining that was going on.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
You know, and you know, you could blame it on anything, but it's like the actuarial health data was in the way, right? It was in the way. You know, so from there, you know, where we are today, I think it's nice that there's these advertisements on Hulu and Netflix where you don't have to go too far, and it's like, oh, you can get $500,000 of insurance for $15, $20 a month or something like that. Like, you know, I appreciate those commercials because it allows more people to ask the right questions. Right. And so, you know, I was just talking, I had a meeting right before this with a realtor, and she's from Madison as well. They own a few businesses. But I said, Tawala, what, you know, if I could say anything, what really impacted you about, you know, life insurance? I knew this question was going to come up. And she said, Dominic, when you told me that my debts would go to my husband, would go to my kids if I was to pass away, right? So if you don't have insurance, your debts, everything you have out there goes to your next of kin. Right? It could be your mom.
Same situation.
You know, it could go to your people. It could go to your kids. And so it doesn't go away. A lot of people think you know, whatever you have out there, if you have a car note, it doesn't just fall off the earth because, you know, you're not here anymore.
You still want that bread. Right.
That's crazy. Yeah. Thank you for that history lesson right there. Like, I appreciate that. And just to know the additional discrimination and tying that to the wealth gap, for sure. Like, it's no wonder, right? It's no wonder that there's this huge gap when things like that have been put in place on purpose to keep us from being able to build wealth in the first place. So you say insurance is a good piece of that, right? And protecting you and protecting your family. What about retirement planning and things like that? Like, I've seen differences in like the uptake of 401k if offered. So could you talk about, you know, like where do I start? Where does someone, you know, like us or one of our listeners really start when it comes to that retirement planning piece?
Yeah. So bare bones planning, if you can get, you know, the life insurance, the disability insurance, get your health insurance, you know, but also a lot of people that I sit down with in regards to the 401k. So the 401k companies usually give away a match. Okay. Most people have no clue. I remember being in the same space, right? Like probably, you know, at Morgan Stanley, they're like, hey, you want a match? I'm like, no, I want all my money on my check.
For sure. Right.
Like, no, you know, so a match, right? If you make, let's say $50,000 and your company matches you 5%, they're saying that they will give you 5% of that $50,000 as long as you put in that 5%. So the difference between a financial advisor and your company, I won't give you anything. You know, I'll help you roll it over and help you, you know, pick some different positions and stuff like that. But so if you're making $50,000 and your company matches you 5%, you put in 5%, that's $5,000 a year that we're putting away towards retirement. Okay. So that's a big thing where people have no clue, you know, really where this money is going. It's your money. You could take it with you when you leave. But for bare bones planning, if your company has a 401k, invest in it. It's in the market, right? If people don't even know, it's in the market. Oh, this hurts. This will hurt. One of the first meetings where I was like, okay, you know, this is my first year. This woman I talked to, I can't even remember her name because it was a long time ago. But you know, at the end of the day, we looked into this woman's account and she saved up $335,000 over 40 years, straight cash. It was never invested.
Oh wow,
man, damn, it could be growing.
It was never invested.
Oh, wow.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, what would this have been? It would have been like $2 million, right? If she would have picked any of the options out there.
Right.
So 401k 101, if you get a match, right, what we coach is put up to the match there. Okay. And if you have time, you can be more aggressive. Trust me. Right. I was like, you know, D-Lo, Let's just make sure that if this is the only thing they listen to, make sure you sign up for your benefits and make sure you put money in your 401k.
Right. Cool.
So, and I think Bob Wynn was talking about, even with investment options, to go to your employer first and see what all those options are, like 401k or anything else that they had. So that's great. You know, once again, and then it connects, you know, with episode 3. My question is for those people who may not have a full-time position in which they have access to a 401k. Maybe they have a couple of part-times, maybe they're an entrepreneur and are starting to get their business off the ground. What would be some avenues for, you know, for retirement that they could start to invest in if they didn't have access to a 401k?
I think that's a great question, right? I was thinking that, and my mind went there right away. Like, what about the entrepreneurs? We specialize in working with entrepreneurs, and mainly the opportunity there is that if you're not working with anyone, you don't have a retirement, right? So, like, just to put it out there, and so the first thing I would do with an advisor, or, you know, if you're a do-it-yourselfer, is figure out how much money you need to save to retire. Right. And because I think from there, you'll be able to then think about what options, you know, you have and that you need. There's different type of retirement accounts. 401k is company owned. You can own one of those as a business owner. You know, you can have a solo 401k if you're, you know, self-employed. You can have an IRA. You know, I know Bob Wynn, I heard him talk about a self-directed IRA. That's a great place for an entrepreneur to stuff $6,000 a year. You know, there's limits to it. And that's where I find most of my clients where they're like, okay, well, I need to save $1,100 a month. Let's just take a step back just in case we're not there, right? But once you know how much you need to save on a monthly basis, you know, and like I said, right? So, you know, we'll just say, right? Like, you need to save $1,100 to $1,500 a month to a retirement account. Well, $6,000 a year is only $500 a month. Right. You know, so entrepreneurs have different options, more options, because they get paid pre-tax. Right. And so that's where we have a lot of fun.
Nice.
So does that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay.
You mentioned IRAs. So I know there's traditional IRAs and then there's Roth IRAs. Can you kind of break down, I guess, number one, what those are and kind of the differences between the two, and is there one that you would kind of recommend more than the other?
Yeah, so I think this might be like an old analogy, and that's what Bradley says about me. He says, like, I'm an old head. There's an analogy. Both are good options for different reasons. On one of them, you're paying taxes on the seed. On the other, you're paying taxes on the harvest.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Okay. And so, thank you. I didn't make it up. I didn't make it up.
I like that.
So there's different limits to both of them. You know, and so paying taxes on the harvest is a traditional IRA. It means that we are going to grow this seed without paying taxes at first, and then when it harvests, we're going to pay the taxes later.
Right.
Okay. Traditional IRA, if you make $100,000 or 50, let's just stick with 100. It's easy math. You make $100,000 and you put $6,000 in a traditional IRA. Now, in the IRS's view, you've made $94,000. Okay, which means you don't pay taxes today. Okay. In a 401k, like a traditional 401k, the difference between a traditional IRA and 401k is company owned. Traditional IRA, right? My grandma calls it an IRA. It's individual retirement account. Right? And so I think the main thing, one of the quotes that I wrote down, right? You don't get to keep all of your 401k money you save. right? Because you have to pay, right? You have to pay taxes on that later. So you don't get to keep all of the 401k money or traditional IRA money that you save. You have to give some of the harvest away. Okay. Sometimes it's the only option, and it's not a bad option at, you know, depending on the tax climate. And I know we'll get there, but the other retirement account, you know, when looking at traditional versus Roth IRA, we're paying taxes on the seed. Okay, so that means before we put the seed in the ground, we break the IRS off and we don't talk to them about it anymore.
Right.
Okay, and so a Roth IRA, same $6,000 limit, and it's $7,000 if you're older than 50. Okay.
Okay.
So there's different, you know, there's called a catch-up period where you can catch up, you know, so those over 50, we can put a little more in there. The Roth IRA is going to be tax-free when it grows. Okay. So these are both called qualified accounts. And the only reason that matters is because qualified accounts usually have tax advantages. The Roth IRA, we can put $6,000 in it as it grows from now until retirement, until we pass away and pass it on. It's tax-free.
Is that compound interest too? So let's say I got a Roth IRA and it's earning, say, 5% a year. Is that just going to keep growing 5% a year until I can take it out? Or is that how it works? Or, you know, you can break it down for me.
Yeah, perfect. So compounding interest, you know, is ultimately the more or the longer you have this money put away or not, right? So compounding interest can work for you and against you. The longer you have this money put away, the more interest you're earning on this account over time. And so annually, right? So rate of return is something that people don't really even know what that means. But rate of return, if we have $1,000 and we get a 10% rate of return, then we make $100. Okay, 10% of the entire amount. Now, Bradley, compounding interest is now in year 2, we have $1,100 if we get that same 10%. And returns aren't guaranteed in the market, right? So we've got to say that returns aren't guaranteed. We nice, but can't guarantee it. So 10% of $1,100 is $110. All right, and so that's more than the first 10%. So the compounding interest ultimately just keeps on growing with the more time we have.
Nice. So, yeah, so you gave us some, like, I think gems. I just want to acknowledge that because I did not know about the business owner piece. So I have a 9-to-5 and I have, you know, 401k and retirement, and blessed enough to work for a company that has a pension too. But I'm also a business owner. And so I had no idea of what you just spit. So I am grateful for that. And I'm gonna look into that as well. So especially when you're talking about the compound interest, can you tell me what does it look like? How is it different for somebody who says, hey, I'm 35, I'm here to look at retirement planning, versus somebody who's coming in your door at 55? What are the differences between those two, and what actions have to be different for them?
So that's a good question. We start in the same place for both of them. And so I kind of heard two different questions here, and then I'll see if you know, I think both are great. At 25, to save $1 million by 60, you have to save $383 a month. You can fact check me. Well, if you're 35, you have to save $838 a month to hit $1 million by 60.
That's the difference.
That's the difference between compounding interest, right? Now, where we start for anyone is, you know, because I don't care, Opal, how much money, I don't want to direct how much money you save, right? If you said, but when you tell me, Dominic, I want to retire at 60 and I want to continue my lifestyle today, now I can give you, Opal, you need to save X amount of money per month to retire. Okay, so someone with a pension, just for the listeners who don't know what that is, if we have one or not, a pension is an account where your company is putting away money for you based on the hours that you're working. So, you know, the 401k, you have to put the money away to get the 5% match. Your company, you know, after a certain amount of time, you become vested with the company and they want to keep you there. Okay. All of these things are called golden handcuffs. If you have employees, the reasons why, the reasons why you want to, you know, treat your employees nice with benefits and things like that is, you know, you want to keep your good employees, right? And so if I say, you know, you can have this pension after 5 years, the WRS pension is, you know, it vests after 5 years if you work for the Wisconsin retirement system. They are, well, and they force you to match. So, you know, like the Wisconsin retirement system, you put away 6.5%. They put away 6.5%, and that's 13% total of your annual income that you're growing, right? It's just not a 401k, meaning you can't control how you're pulling the money out. They give it to you, you know, how the plan shows. Now, back in the day, the pension was great because it was, you know, the pension for if someone's 55 today and they've been at their spot 30 years, they might be okay. They're more like probably like 60, 70% taken care of. We start at the same spot. So depending on how much money they need to save to be done when they want to, we come back with a plan to show them exactly, you know, what they need to save. And if they're 55 and they're an entrepreneur, you know, and they haven't saved, those numbers can be high. You know, but it's ultimately up to the resources that we have to get the job done and what is the objective.
Right.
Awesome.
So I think it's time for that. I heard back in the day, or the block told me.
There we go. I like it. We should have started with that.
I know everybody been waiting on it. I've done it at least once every episode. So back in the day, my mom was always talking about, oh man, we're gonna get you a CD. We need to set things up in a CD for you. And she kept saying, oh, CD. One in today is that even one, I guess, still a thing? And two, is that even really worth the investment because of, you know, the rate of return in comparison to, I guess, other places you could stash your money? But I just remember back in the day, oh, you know, for your birthday, we're gonna get you a CD. I'm like, oh, what kind of CD? You trying to give me that, Aaliyah?
right, exactly.
But she's talking about the bank. So if you could break that down for some people that may still be floating that idea around.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, you know, we still do see CDs today.
Okay.
In the you know, 70s, 80s, interest rates were higher, right? You could put the money away into a savings account, and the interest on the account would be more, you know, than it is today. Interest rates today are historically low, which is causing really a lot of financial institutions a lot of harm, because back in the day they promised these, you know, 10+% interest rates, and they can't keep up with it. So to answer your question in short, call me. You know, a CD is not the way to go, because they might give you 1 or 2% over 2 years, 3 years. The whole purpose of investing is to beat inflation. That's like definition wise, like when we teaching somebody the basics, inflation is another story, but they project that to be at 2.1%, meaning if you gave me $100 bill, I put it in my pocket, I gave it back to you a year from now, you could buy $98 worth of goods, right? Later, right? And every year that compounds. So the whole goal, you know, with saving money outside of your savings account is to beat the inflation. Okay.
Right.
But, you know, what I get to talking about with people, especially as it relates to TDs, is what do you think the bank is doing with that money? The bank is investing in the stock market.
Right.
So, you know, but, you know, people love safety, right? Especially when it comes to their money. But most people do, right? You know, like Bradley, right? Like when we first started, right? You hear about people who have these fears of the market because, you know, back in 08, right? Or at one point we lost this money, and it's not, you know, that's not bad to have fear, but I think it's more, you know, with education, your fear goes down a little bit, and so the banks are investing this money. When you turn on the news last year during the coronavirus, everything was red. The market did 20% last year. You know, so if you got 1,000 put away, you made $200. But it was scary. It was super scary, right? Like, of course, it was a scary time. But you couldn't get your money out of a CD, and so if the bank does 20, and they give you 2. And they made 18
right there.
That's the game.
Right there.
You know, they always said that there's a reason why the bank gives you a sucker when you put your money in.
I like that.
You know,
fire.
It's like it's straight up robbery, man. Like, man, that's so much money you missing out on. You know, because they should be telling you this. Like, they could at least give you half of what they get and still be straight. But yeah. But go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah,
that's fire.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Right, your savings becomes less valuable. So that's, you know, your savings becomes less valuable over time. That's where it came from. With interest rates changing, the CD savings accounts, they used to be a great place. Now, you know, I think I would. If I was to, you know, say where would I put my first, I guess, you know, my first $1,000 outside of making sure my family was taken care of if I die, and making sure my income was protected, which I know we'll hit on that stuff later. It would be somewhere in the market where we don't have to pay taxes on the money later. There's a few options for that, but. You know, regardless, I think people talk about, and here goes another one-liner for you to get the drum roll. A lot of people talk about like stocks and bonds, you know, like stocks and bonds, because that's the sexy stuff.
Right.
You know, we call that asset allocation. Asset allocation is your ratio from stocks to bonds. What's more important than that is asset location. How is this money going to be taxed when I need it?
True.
Yeah.
Preach.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I got one more kind of like heard on the street, just a quick piggyback. Because you're dropping gems left and right, so I want to go through. I have heard that life insurance payout is tax free. Is that a fact? So if there's $100,000 policy that you inherit, do you people have to pay on that, or do you have to pay on that?
No, that's a fact. That's a fact.
Nice.
That's a fact. And life insurance is not a scam, right? Like I heard that, right? Like that's what I heard about life insurance, right? Like, like before I was in the business, you know, there's companies got into trouble when interest rates changed. And so some companies couldn't pay out, and insurance companies don't let other insurance companies go bankrupt, luckily. So just make sure you know what your policy looks like. You know, now I'm not a CPA, but there is ways that the death benefit could be taxed, and you just don't want to make that mistake.
Right.
If you are, and there's reasons why you would want to write off life insurance policies, but if you are putting that money away and the money's not taxed yet, right? So it didn't go through your paycheck when you bought it, right? So tax money it goes from your pay stub to your bank account. It's already been taxed. You use that money to pay for life insurance. 100% is tax free.
Nice.
Okay, because there's no gain, right? Like, has anybody here got like went through like a car insurance claim?
Yeah, I just got one a couple years ago.
Yep.
Did you pay taxes on the insurance money?
Nope.
I think so.
No, I don't think I did.
No gain, no tax. They were replacing a loss.
Right.
Okay, so life insurance, you are right. If Opal, if you here for another 50 years, all of the money that you could make, if something happens to you tonight, you ride off into the sunset. You know, a life insurance policy, whatever the death benefit is not a gain. Right? It's a loss to everybody.
Yeah. That's a good way to think about that. That's a good way to explain that. Thank you. Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's real dope.
That is.
You started to touch on tax a little bit. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs are listening out there, or people that want to be entrepreneurs are listening, and they looking at it like, let me save some money. I'm gonna just go ahead and download this TurboTax real quick. You know what I'm saying? Type in these numbers and get the job done. As opposed to dealing with a CPA. So I guess I know you're not a CPA, but what would your recommendation be to them if they were kind of talking to you about that? Like, what would you tell them in terms of advice?
All right, so TurboTax, right? Like if I refer you to TurboTax and then they give me a referral fee or something, right? Like that's how people get referred to, you know, those apps.
Okay.
What I would do, I would find somebody you trust in the space, right? Like I think if you're gonna spend time managing, like if you make any profit in your business, you know, like that's important and you worked hard for that, you know. I would find a CPA that you trust, because what people don't know is that you know, TurboTax is taking that $400 or $500 out of your return and you just don't know it.
It's like that hidden fee at the end.
You don't know. You're just trying to sign that thing as quick as possible, right?
Right. Okay.
Right. Like for a simple tax return, man, you could find somebody, you know, under $500, $400, $300. You know, you just want to find somebody you trust, right? That's really important.
True.
Yeah.
So, you know, sticking with taxes, you know, some people have started to, especially with all the apps now, you got Robinhood and you got Acorns and you got Stash and all these different ways of people starting to invest in the market. Are there any tax benefits, whether personal or for a business, if they start to engage in trying to invest in the stock market?
Good question. So I'm not a CPA, and I like how that didn't, you know, that like I don't have to step in anything. Yeah, just open the account in a Roth IRA. Like a Roth IRA, you know, if you're gonna do it yourself, it's just the title of the account. You can get the same stocks or bonds in every single, you know, asset that we talked about. You know, you can get, I mean, so you know, I could leave it there, but you know, people don't know that your life insurance, right, can be invested in the market.
Oh snap!
You know,
I didn't even know that.
You get the same stocks and bonds and, you know, a lot of different things. But for someone who's looking to do it themselves, I would put it in a Roth IRA, because then the growth is not going to be taxed.
Right.
Is that possible?
Nice.
I can't have a Robinhood account because I'm in the industry, but
really? Like that's like a rule. That's like
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Well, I know.
Well, yeah.
They're like, nah, you too good with money. Like, man, you can't even be on this now right now. You ain't like us.
No, like there's just disclosures. Like, you know, Robinhood is new, and you know, they don't know how we get information. So I use different accounts out there, you know, to get the job done. But to have a brokerage account, you know, for someone who wants a brokerage account like a Robinhood, or they use Schwab, or they use Morgan Stanley, where you can buy individual positions,
right?
And you know, individual stocks. I know everybody's up on that from last week, but or from Bob Wynn. But if someone is looking to do that and you don't want it in a Roth IRA because, you know, you want it short term, like you want the money right back, right? Like you want to be able to pull it out.
Right.
Then it's gonna be taxed at the highest level, right? We talked about like qualified accounts.
Okay.
Qualified accounts are retirement accounts with a tax break. Non-qualified accounts is brokerage accounts, stocks and bonds and mutual funds that are not in a retirement account. Right. When we grow money there, we pay taxes on it.
And is that just because I can kind of take that out whenever I want to? Is that the difference in why you've got to kind of why they want to tax you on one and not the other?
Yeah, well, there's two things guaranteed, right? Death and taxes, right? So the IRS, they want their cut.
Right.
They want their cut. It's income. It's income, right? So income. They say you make money here. We need a piece.
Gotcha.
And so these retirement accounts are just, that's a space where they don't hit you upside the head from a tax perspective. And short term, they like, okay, well, if you make, we don't bring up politics. They're like, if you make $600 in the market, we're going to send you a 1099 and you're going to pay taxes on this right away.
Yeah. Got you. So our listeners really want to know about, either getting started or starting something new, right? Might have all these other pieces together, but not this specific piece. So if I were to meet with you or someone like you, what do I need to bring? Do you need my tax returns, my income? Like what all do I have to kind of get my stuff together with before I come and see someone like you, so we can so I can have someone help me with a plan?
Yeah, so I think the easiest way to work with someone is to get introduced to someone that right? I think just having a trusted advisor that will walk you through their onboarding process is going to be best. If you're serious about it, right? Like if you have retirement accounts out there, what I send out is really just a balance sheet that says, hey, look, what do you have out here? Do you have a budget? Do you have, and I send out like a starter kit just to get it, like where your credit card, where your credit card's at, where your retirement account's at, like where are we trying to go? If you're working with someone that you trust, they'll help you out. That's the easy part. I think that most of the time, if you do some goal planning ahead of time, like think about, what's important to you, like what's your objective? I think, advisors have their own philosophies. No matter who you sit with, there's a lot of different ways to get to point B. And so I would just make sure that, you understand where you want to go so they can help get you there.
Nice. So it's like, I shouldn't hesitate if I don't think I have this folder ready, because y'all will have some of the tools that I need to just kind of start asking me questions, and I can kind of look into what I have set and what I want to do.
Yeah, well, we make a living to make our clients' accounts grow. So, someone I was talking to just, a couple hours ago, we're meeting tomorrow. She just lost her husband, and I sent her my onboarding packet, and I didn't know why she kept rescheduling meetings. But she's like, it's just tough for me to, gather this information. And I'm like, I called her. I'm like, what? Like, come on now. Like, we'll talk through everything. Like, don't even worry about it. Don't bring anything. Just bring yourself. So I would just bring you, be authentic and see if it's the right fit, right? You kicking the tires on a financial advisor, make sure that they can meet you where you are.
I love that, kicking the tires. You've been dropping a lot of these one-liners. That's true, because I don't think we think about that. Like, I never thought about it in that way. Like, we're testing y'all out too. So that's really cool. And that human piece too, all these apps, but that human piece to understand what she's going through and kind of let her know that you got her is amazing. That's awesome.
Absolutely. So where you get that suit from, brother? Suit looking nice, man. Looking fresh. You know what I'm saying?
Let me see what we got going here. Look at me.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what's up.
That's real though. That's super dope.
He got the king in there too. All right.
Okay.
What's up?
I love that.
Y'all looking like straight boss.
But you know,
Repeats.
yeah, you know, well, so when you teaching like, you know, like older cats how to be a financial advisor, and you know, when you teach about money, I want to look like a wealth management professional, right? Like I run a big business, like, you know, and so the suit's from Fine Line, though, you know, we might as well get it all here, you know.
Nice.
Don't forge my signature, but you know, so yeah, you gotta get somebody with a nice suit, you know, make sure they button lapel look, you know, is different. No, just kidding.
That's cool, man. Because I remember you told me about it, because you was trying to get me like, yeah, you should go ahead and get a suit, Bradley. Look fresh. I'm like, all right, that's cool, man. So I forgot what I had to question. Did any of y'all have any other questions? I feel like we've covered so much content so far.
The only thing I would add in is, especially on the insurance piece, on the life insurance piece, because you know, when you get presented with all these different options of, man, maybe I should be putting money here, 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 sometimes it can get overwhelming. And I know we didn't, you know, I think some people would be interested in, like, what is the level of entry into starting that? Do I have to have hundreds of dollars to start a policy? I know the more money you have, the bigger the policy, but what is an entry level for someone that says, hey, I would love to start to get that life insurance. I'm probably going to be taking bits and pieces from my checks. What do I need to get started?
Perfect. I want to put a pause there because I always want to do a video about this. We got to drop this. So look, so the place you start, Corey, and it's crazy. I meet people with, they like, oh, I got a $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 policy, and I'm like, why? And they're like, I don't know. This is what they said. What I care about is that my clients have enough insurance, have life insurance, if they ride off into the sunset, that I can bring their family what they need. Right? So as far as barrier of entry, $100, Corey, you look, you know, I know you got good genes. What, you probably 35? Well, how old are you?
Man, I don't even want to put out it. I'm 41,
okay,
bro.
All right. You 41. 41. $1 million.
Don't crack, man.
You're right, exactly. That's what I asked. I'm 65. And so at 41, $1 million life insurance policy probably costs $50-$60 a month.
Say that again.
And $1 million policy costs $50-$60 a month. And I'm not, but I you know, I see those like advertisements for like these different companies. I'm like, man, these companies are garbage. But I like it because it gets people thinking. So what I want, this you know, notepad time. What I want y'all to do is walk away with your number. Okay, this is what's most important. Most of our clients want to make sure that they can take care of a mortgage for their family if something happens to them.
Right.
That their debts are paid off.
Right.
That they could pay for a funeral.
Right. That
they could pay for higher education for their kids if they're not here, if they want to go. A lot of people say, well, what if my kids don't want to go? Look, if you ain't here, you don't care about that. And they're replacing your income. So whatever your bill money is that your spouse, family, partner needs from you, you know, you multiply that by how many years you want to replace it by, right? So if you bringing in $50,000, you know, you say that's $2,500 after tax. You know, that's about $30,000 a year. So we bringing in $30,000 after tax for 10 years. Replace your income for 10 years. That's $300,000. Right? Until retirement, 20 years. That's $600,000. So we got, Corey, this for you, right? We got $600,000 of just our bill money is $3,000 a month. We know Corey got M's. And then we got Man, have y'all paid for a funeral?
I personally never have. No,
No,
Not personally.
I've seen the cost of those.
Yeah, I know they're high.
A box is 10,000. And if you got a church that's good, that got some grandmas in there cooking or got something to hook up, you're gonna be at 20 minimum. Okay.
Yeah.
The first funeral we had to pay for was my girl's dad, and he was 44.
Oh wow.
Oh my.
And he died unexpectedly. He had a stroke, and he's an amazing human. And this was the first time that I realized, that what I really do is important. But paying for a funeral is not fun. You don't want to be short, and they will hit you with that bill right after the funeral. Right? They like, oh, you want this, so that's another 25,000. Higher education for the kids, right now that's about 25 a year. That's 100 a kid.
Right.
Yep.
Corey, you got kids?
Yep, I got 2 boys.
2 boys. We send them if something happening.
Oh yeah, we got to set them up.
There we go. That's 825, and then the crib. We'll say today that's 400. We had 1.1.
Right.
So long story short, and not to get our personal, we made all those numbers up, right? We put an asterisk at the bottom, but for me, it's most important that my clients know though that we're not just making something up, right? If you go into X life insurance, company, and they say, "What's your budget?" You're in the wrong spot, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's a red flag.
Right. Exactly. So that's where I would start. Add up. What type of home would you want to replace if you weren't around? Bill or debts, higher education, funeral, and replace your income.
Formula.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good.
Personalized formula. How do people get in touch with you? Can we you got some links or anything we could throw up real quick?
Yeah, we got a couple of links. We got a link tree to schedule a meeting there with me. You can hit my line. It's we probably get a phone number up here. No, it's like 608-772-7871, something like that. You can go online. We run a professional, very confidential family practice. Chase is our investment operations manager. Dude is a retired Marine, way smarter than me. And that was one of my ones that I forgot, Opal. Like, what would what advice you have? Surround yourself with people that are smarter than you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So,
for sure.
I'm pretty easy to find though. Pretty easy to find.
Okay.
Facts.
So who has our book recommendation for this episode? Anybody have any books they'd like to recommend?
Oh yeah, I would get up and get it. Power of Zero is a great one.
I haven't read that one.
I heard about that one.
You got that one. Well, it's in your house. Not to call you, it's in your house. Just go ask your people. Yes, you do have it. It's a good one.
I got a big library, so you know what I'm saying.
Right, exactly. What would the Rockefellers do? What would the Rockefellers do is another good one.
Another one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good one about generational wealth.
Oh, that's nice. That's
But
important.
those two.
Beautiful.
I love that. And DLO, you give your testimonial that the services are worth it and good to go. Yes.
Oh yes. He's the family. That's why my daughter in the back right now looking like, yeah, she know who he is. Yeah, family, good person, on a mission with a purpose. And I like to be around people like that because it makes you a better person in general in everything that you do because it's inspiring, which is why I'm glad you took the time to talk with us, man. Hopefully we can get you back, in another session or something.
I appreciate that, and it's all love. You know, it's all love. Bradley's a good guy too. He's a good guy too. So, right. I have daughters. Right. I was gonna call her name, but I'm like, no, not on tape. Not on
Right.
tape. We got daughters. Man, well, I really appreciate you all bringing me on today. You know, I think the biggest thing, and one, I appreciate you all because one, for having me on, but two, you all are the representation that people like need to see, you know, for financial literacy and financial security. And, you know, I like thinking about like parents who are entrepreneurs and like, you know, your daughter walking in while you running a financial literacy podcast. You think she's going to be rich? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Nice.
so
She
appreciate
set
that.
up.
Exactly.
No doubt. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
likewise to you for doing what you do and understanding the representation need and helping people with their family's wealth and their own wealth. And I think you did a really nice job of taking away the fear out of a lot of stuff. Even just how you put
Right.
things, like how you say riding off into the sunset, like that's so much better than any other way you could have put it. So I love that because we have a lot of fear, especially
Yep.
within our culture. And then when you're under a certain age, you're like, I don't even want to think about that. So I appreciate what you're putting out into the world. This is beautiful.
Appreciate y'all.
I agree. All right, everyone. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure to go and check those books out. Those sound amazing. We got to get into those. Make sure you follow us online. If it's IG or Facebook, we're at Black Currency Podcast. The video will be available at youtube.com/radio22. And we have our webpage up at myradio22.com/Black Currency Podcast. And let's show that link tree one more time for Dom. If you guys need to get in touch with him, I would definitely make that happen.
My Instagram is Dominic Johnson Sr. Just SR. Dominic, first name, last name, SR.
If I see how quickly I can type. SR at IG.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got. See if this is it. IG.
Looks beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Bam.
So you got another way to get in touch with this man, the man with the answers. And
Exactly.
that suit. Man, I gotta step my game up.
Right?
Man.
Came in with
I
the
love
drip.
that.
Yeah.
Man. Appreciate
All right,
y'all.
everybody. We appreciate everybody joining us. Yeah, we'll see y'all next week. Everyone have a good one. Peace.
Peace.
Ain't you sick of giving me your money?
Oh, I know he didn't do it, baby.
Whoa, where you going?
No, I'm about to go make these trouble.